I need to tell you about the moment that destroyed everything I thought I knew about my marriage. It wasn't a lipstick stain or a suspicious text message. It was something far more calculated, far more cruel. My husband's name appeared in my best friend's notes app, nested inside a folder labeled The Investment. And beneath his name, a countdown timer, a list of my insecurities, and a dollar amount that made my stomach drop. $847,000. That's what I was apparently worth. But here's the thing that still keeps me awake at night. When I finally understood what that number meant, I realized the betrayal had started long before I ever opened that phone. It had started the day I introduced them. The day I trusted her with my secrets. The day I told her I was afraid my husband might leave me because we couldn't have children. She hugged me that day. She told me everything would be okay. And then she opened her notes app and started planning. My name is Sophie, and until 6 months ago, I thought I had it all figured out. I married Daniel when we were both 26, university sweethearts who'd made it work. We had a house in Bristol, steady careers, and a life that looked perfect from the outside. Daniel worked in fintech, doing something complicated with cryptocurrency. I ran a graphic design business from home. We had Sunday roasts with his parents and Friday wine nights with my best friend, Natalie. Natalie had been my best mate since secondary school. She was a pharmaceutical sales rep, constantly traveling, always immaculately dressed. When Daniel and I got married, she was my maid of honor. She cried during her speech about how she'd never seen me happier. The crack appeared 18 months ago. Daniel and I had been trying for a baby for 2 years with no luck. The fertility tests came back devastating, premature ovarian failure. At 32, my body had essentially given up. The doctor listed our options: IVF with donor eggs, adoption, surrogacy. All expensive, all emotionally crushing. I fell apart. I spent weeks crying, feeling broken and defective. Daniel was supportive at first, but I saw something shift in his eyes. Disappointment, distance. He'd always wanted children. We talked about it on our 3rd date. Arguments started bubbling up. He came home later and later, always with excuses about work projects. I told Natalie everything. Every fear, every insecurity. I told her I was terrified Daniel would leave me. I told her I felt like I'd failed at the most basic thing a woman should be able to do. Natalie was perfect. She brought wine and takeaway. She let me cry on her designer couch. She told me Daniel loved me, that I was being ridiculous. She even offered to help research surrogacy options. What I didn't know was that she was taking notes. Literally. 3 months after my diagnosis, something shifted. Daniel became lighter, more attentive. He brought flowers home, suggested date nights. He stopped mentioning babies altogether. When I asked about it, he said he'd been thinking and realized we didn't need children to be happy. He said he loved me regardless. I was so relieved. I thought we'd turned a corner. Natalie started coming around more. She'd pop by with coffee, stay for hours, chat with both of us. She and Daniel started having these long conversations about his work, about cryptocurrency and investments. I'd tune out, focus on my design work while they talked at the kitchen table. I should have found it strange how quickly they became friends, how many inside jokes they developed. But I was just happy to see my husband smiling again, happy to have my best friend around during a difficult time. Then came the Thursday that shattered everything. Natalie came over for our usual Friday wine night a day early. She left her phone on my kitchen counter when she went to the bathroom. It buzzed. I glanced at it, just reflexively, and saw a notification from her notes app. The title read, Daniel, Phase 3. My stomach dropped. I told myself it was nothing. Maybe she was planning a surprise for me. But my hands were already reaching for her phone. She didn't have a passcode. She'd always said she had nothing to hide. The Notes app opened to a folder structure. Several folders color-coded. And there, in a pink folder marked The Investment, I saw my husband's full name, Daniel Marcus Sullivan. I tapped it. And that's when I learned what it feels like to have your reality shatter so completely that you forget how to breathe. The note was structured like a military operation. At the top, target acquisition complete. Below that, a timeline spanning 18 months. 18 months. That meant this started right when I was crying to her about my infertility. Phase 1 Intelligence Gathering, months 1 to 4. Sophie's vulnerabilities documented: infertility, body image, fear of abandonment. Daniel's frustrations confirmed: wants biological children, feels trapped. Financial situation mapped: house equity, £280,000. Daniel's crypto portfolio, EST £430,000. Combined liquid assets, £137,000. Phase 2 Trust Building, months 5 to 10. Increased presence in their home. Established common interests with Daniel, fintech investing. Emotional affair initiated, month 8. Physical affair initiated, month 9. I had to stop reading. The bathroom door opened. Natalie was coming back. I quickly screenshotted everything, sent it to myself, deleted the message, and placed her phone back. My hands were shaking violently. She walked in with that easy smile. "You alright? You look pale." I managed to nod. I got through 20 minutes of conversation. Then she left. I ran to the bathroom and vomited. I waited until midnight when Daniel was asleep, locked myself in the bathroom, and read the rest. Phase 3 Extraction, months 11 to 18. Continue affair while maintaining Sophie's trust. Encourage Daniel's exit fantasy. Position myself as better suited partner. Fertile, understands his work. Coordinate timing with Daniel's crypto liquidation, Q2 target, £580,000 cash. Endgame. Daniel divorces Sophie, splits assets, target, £400,000 to £500,000. Begins relationship with me after respectful 6-month gap. Phase 4 Asset consolidation. Marriage to Daniel, 18 to 24 months post-divorce. Combined net worth target, £1.2 million plus. Investment property purchase. Maintain minimal contact with Sophie. Below that, a section titled Sophie Management. Keep her emotionally dependent on me. Monitor mental state, currently too fragile for divorce. Ensure she views separation as mutual/her choice. Plausible deniability essential. And at the bottom, Sophie is the perfect mark, trusting, insecure, and too proud to ask for help until it's too late. By the time she realizes, we'll be untouchable. That's when I stopped being the victim and became something else entirely. I didn't confront Daniel that night. I lay next to him and listened to him breathe, studying his face, wondering which moments had been real. The next morning, I was calm, made breakfast, kissed him goodbye, told him I loved him. Then I started digging. I created a secret cloud account and built an evidence folder. I accessed our joint accounts, credit cards, emails. I found an encrypted messaging app on his laptop disguised as a productivity tool. Thousands of messages between them. They'd had sex in our guest bedroom, in her car, in our driveway. They discussed me like an obstacle to be managed. But the financial investigation was the worst part. Daniel had been systematically draining our accounts. Our joint savings had dropped from £47,000 to £12,000 over 6 months, small amounts with explanations about investments that never existed. I'd trusted him with our finances. I'd been too depressed to notice. His cryptocurrency portfolio had been liquidated 3 weeks earlier. £580,000, exactly as Natalie's note predicted. But instead of our joint accounts, it was in a new account in only his name. An account listing Natalie as alternate beneficiary. They weren't just having an affair. They were robbing me blind. I sat surrounded by evidence, and something crystallized. They treated me like a mark, cataloged my weaknesses, built a strategy around exploiting me. So I decided to become a con artist too. Over the next week, I consulted a divorce lawyer in another town, paying cash with a fake name. I learned about evidence collection and asset protection. I opened my own secret account. I stored evidence everywhere: cloud storage, my sister's house, a safe deposit box. But I didn't just want protection. I wanted them to hurt. So I played the game. I became the perfect wife. Attentive, loving. I suggested liquidating assets for IVF. I watched Daniel stumble through lies about the money being strategically tied up. I nodded sympathetically. I stayed best friends with Natalie, invited her to dinner, asked her marriage advice, watched her construct fake concern while her eyes sparkled with triumph. I documented everything, every lie, every manipulation. Then I set my trap. I told Daniel I wanted to plan a surprise party for our 7th anniversary in 3 weeks. I said I wanted to invite close friends and family, celebrate our marriage surviving a difficult year. He couldn't refuse without seeming suspicious. I told Natalie too. She offered to help set up, playing the supportive best friend perfectly. What neither of them knew was that I wasn't planning a party. I was planning a reckoning. The day arrived. Natalie came early to help. Daniel came home at 6. The living room looked like a celebration. Banners, wedding photos, catered food. At 6:05, my lawyer arrived with a police officer and a process server. Their faces when they realized confusion, then fear, then panic. The process server handed Daniel divorce papers with every piece of evidence. Their messages, bank statements showing theft, Natalie's notes app printed in full color. But that wasn't all. The real twist was what I'd done with those 3 weeks. I'd contacted Daniel's employer with evidence of his financial activities. Turns out that crypto portfolio wasn't entirely his. A significant portion was company capital he'd been managing, taking profits from, planning to replace before anyone noticed. His liquidation triggered an internal audit. The police officer wasn't for show. Daniel was under investigation for embezzlement. I'd also contacted Natalie's pharmaceutical company. She'd violated ethics clauses and GDPR by accessing my private medical information and using it in her strategy. Fireable offense. Potentially criminal. The £580,000 Daniel hid? My lawyer had frozen those assets. Every pound documented. Every penny now part of the legal record. And our house? Primarily in my name, because of my better credit. That was mine. I watched them realize they'd lost everything. Jobs in jeopardy. Reputations destroyed. Money frozen. And they hadn't even gotten each other. Daniel tried to speak. Sophie, please. You planned this for 18 months.
You studied me.
You exploited my pain. You thought I'd never figure it out because you believed I was too broken, too stupid, too trusting. You were wrong. Natalie had gone white. That note I never meant. A detailed strategy to seduce my husband and steal my money? I read all of it, Natalie. And now everyone else's too. I'd created a website laying out everything with screenshots and timelines. Sent it to their employers, families, friends. So when they tried to spin this, the truth would already be there. Daniel broke down completely, sobbed on his knees, confessed everything. How it started, how Natalie made him feel understood, his fears about fertility. He admitted it all but swore the embezzlement was separate, his own greed. Natalie went cold, looked at me with something like respect. You should have been a strategist. You're better at this than I gave you credit for. I learned from the best, I replied. You taught me exactly who to never trust again. The divorce took 6 months. Daniel pleaded guilty to embezzlement, suspended sentence, community service, restitution. Most of the £580,000 was recovered. I got 73% based on fraud evidence. The house was mine. Natalie lost her job. Her reputation destroyed. She moved to Manchester. I heard she'd been in therapy, claimed she had some personality disorder, wanted to apologize. She emailed me 8 months later. I deleted it without reading. But here's the truth. Winning doesn't heal you. It doesn't make the betrayal hurt less. I found out later what that £847,000 figure meant. Her target net worth after marrying Daniel and taking everything from me. I was worth nearly £1 million to them. Not as a person, as a mark. That number haunts me. I still live in the house, renovated completely. My business is thriving. I joined an infertility support group and found real community. I'm even dating someone kind who looks at me like I'm precious, not profitable. I'm different now, more careful, less trusting. I check bank accounts obsessively. I have nightmares about notes apps and countdown timers. But I'm stronger. I survived complete betrayal. I learned I could be strategic when necessary, ruthless when required. Last week, I saw Natalie in a Birmingham coffee shop. We locked eyes across the room. She looked away first. She had no power over me anymore. The woman who'd planned my destruction like a campaign couldn't hold eye contact. I ordered coffee and left without speaking. She wasn't worth my words. She was just someone I used to know. Someone who taught me the most expensive lesson. The people closest to you can be the most dangerous, not because they have access to your vulnerabilities, but because you never think to guard against them. I think about Daniel sometimes. Wonder if he ever loved me, or if I was always just convenient. My therapist says it doesn't matter. His feelings don't change what he did or who I am now. The one thing I know, I'll never ignore that small voice saying something's wrong. The signs were always there. The late nights. Natalie's sudden interest in Daniel's work. The way they looked at each other. The weird money deflections. I noticed and convinced myself I was paranoid. I wasn't paranoid. I was being lied to by experts. If you feel something's wrong, investigate. If numbers don't add up, ask questions. If your best friend and spouse become suspiciously close, trust your discomfort. Sometimes the difference between victim and survivor is being brave enough to look at the truth. I named my notes folder The Victory. Not because I feel victorious, but because I need to remember I won. They tried to break me, and I refused to stay broken. Some days, that's enough. And if Natalie ever opens her notes app now, I hope she remembers someone was watching. Someone learned. Someone fought back. I hope it terrifies her. The girl who cried about feeling broken doesn't exist anymore. She was killed by a notes app and a price tag. In her place is someone harder, sharper, wiser. Someone who knows trust is a privilege. Someone who understands the deepest cuts come from people holding your hand while reaching for the knife. I'm not grateful for what happened, but I'm grateful I survived it. I'm grateful I was smart enough, strong enough, angry enough to fight back. Because now I know some people will plan your destruction with the same care others plan weddings. They'll bullet point your vulnerabilities. They'll set timelines for your collapse. They'll assign dollar values to your suffering. And when they do, you choose whether to let them win or to become the twist they never saw coming. I chose the twist, and I'd make the same choice again, every single time. More stories are waiting under the telling tree. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and come back for the next one.